I didn't find out my relationship was over because he cheated. I didn't catch him in bed with someone else. I didn't discover secret messages or hidden accounts. It ended the moment he suggested we sleep with other people to save us. We were sitting across from each other at our dining table, the kind of quiet that comes from routine, not tension. The hum of the fridge, the clink of silverware. 3 years together had taught me how to read his pauses, how to notice when his eyes stopped looking at me and started looking past me. Babe, he said casually, like he was asking me to pass the salt, I think our relationship's getting a little predictable. My stomach tightened, just slightly. He smiled, the practice kind. What if we shook things up? I waited. A hall pass, he said. Just one weekend, no questions. Then we come back better. I remember placing my fork down very carefully, as if any sudden movement might crack something fragile between us. You want to break up? I asked. God, no, he said quickly. Too quickly. This is about growth, trust, being adults. His voice was excited. His eyes avoided mine. That's when I knew. This wasn't theoretical. This wasn't curiosity. This was a plan already in motion, with names and faces attached. He was asking for permission, not discussion. If I said no, I'd be controlling. If I said yes, I'd be the fool who stayed loyal while he explored. I smiled back and told him I'd think about it. What I didn't say was this. The relationship I thought I was protecting had already been traded in for novelty. He spent the next few days glued to his phone, laughing at messages he didn't share, dressing nicer to run errands, glowing with anticipation. Meanwhile, I watched quietly, the way you do when you already know the ending, but want to see how bad the twist will be. Here's the part he never anticipated. I wasn't going to sit at home waiting. While he refreshed dating apps and waited for strangers to want him, I booked a plane ticket. While he imagined a weekend where I stayed safely in my lane, I chose distance, geographical and emotional. He wanted freedom without consequence. I wanted clarity. And Paris, as it turns out, is very good at that. Before the word hall pass ever entered our relationship, before Paris, Instagram stories, or voicemails sent in a panic, there was a version of us that felt steady in a way I trusted. We met 3 years ago through mutual friends. Nothing dramatic, no instant fireworks, just conversation that flowed easily, laughter that didn't feel performative, and a sense of comfort that grew instead of burned out. He was attentive in the beginning, the kind of man who listened, who remembered details, who made plans and followed through. A year ago, he moved into my condo, my place, my name on the lease. At the time, it felt like progress, not leverage waiting to be used later. Our life together was predictable in the best way. Grocery runs on Sundays, evenings on the couch, inside jokes that only made sense to us. I cooked more often. He complained about work. I listened. We talked about the future without pressure, travel, maybe marriage someday, maybe kids. Nothing locked in, but nothing uncertain either. About 6 months ago, something shifted. He started using words like routine and stale as if stability were a flaw. He compared us to his friends' relationships, stories full of chaos he framed as passion. Breakups, reconciliations, emotional whiplash. They fight a lot, he said once, scrolling through his phone, but at least they're not bored. I remember folding laundry, pausing mid-motion, wondering when peace had stopped being enough. Around that same time, an old friend re-entered my life. We'd known each other in college. Always close, always honest, always just slightly out of sync timing-wise. There had been chemistry back then, the kind you acknowledge but don't act on because life is pulling you in different directions. He moved abroad for work after graduation. We stayed loosely in touch over the years. Nothing romantic, nothing hidden. 6 months ago, he moved back. We started getting coffee every few weeks, catching up, talking about careers, travel, the strange ways people change and don't. It was easy, grounded, completely platonic. He knew about my relationship, respected it, never crossed a line. When my boyfriend first floated the hall pass idea, I mentioned it to him offhandedly, almost laughing as I said it out loud. He didn't laugh. That's a terrible idea, he said immediately. He already has someone in mind. The certainty in his voice made my chest tighten. I didn't argue. I didn't deny it. Because deep down, I already knew. Meanwhile, my boyfriend's behavior grew louder. His phone was always in his hand. He smiled at messages he didn't share. He dressed better just to run errands. His excitement wasn't theoretical. It was targeted. He wasn't asking if he should explore. He was asking permission to do what he'd already decided. When he officially suggested the hall pass weekend, casual, confident, already planned. I asked for time to think. What I didn't tell him was that I'd already started thinking about myself. I had vacation days saved, money in savings, a passport I hadn't used in years, and a friend who, when I half joked that I'd always wanted to see Paris, looked at me and said, "Why not now?" 3 days later, the flights were booked, the hotel reserved. No hesitation, no guilt. While my boyfriend refreshed dating apps and waited for strangers to validate him, I made a different choice. Not out of revenge, not to prove a point, but because I refused to spend a weekend proving my loyalty to someone who was already questioning it. By the time he brought up the hall pass again, barely able to contain his excitement, my suitcase was already packed. He thought this weekend would remind me how much I needed him. I already knew it would remind me of something else entirely. Once the idea was out in the open, it didn't fade, it lingered. Sat between us during dinner, followed us into the bedroom, hovered in the silences where comfort used to live. He kept bringing it up like it was already decided. "So, hypothetically," he said one night, leaning against the kitchen counter, "what would you even do with your weekend?" The question sounded casual. It wasn't. "I don't know," I said truthfully. "Probably nothing." He smiled, relieved. Too relieved. "See, that's what I mean. This is low risk, high reward." Low risk for him. Every time the hall pass came up, the rules shifted just enough to benefit him. One weekend. No questions. Total trust. No jealousy. Adults only. He said it like a mantra, as if repeating it enough times would turn imbalance into fairness. Meanwhile, his behavior stopped pretending to be subtle. His phone never left his hand. He angled the screen away when he sat next to me. Notifications buzzed late at night, and he'd smile before clearing his throat and saying, "Just group chats." He started working out more, bought new clothes, put effort into his appearance he hadn't bothered with in months. When I noticed, he laughed it off. "Can a guy want to look good for his girlfriend?" I watched him closely then. His eyes didn't hold mine long enough. His excitement didn't include me. One evening, as we were getting ready for bed, I asked him directly, "Have you already talked to someone?" He froze for half a second, barely noticeable, but I saw it. "No," he said quickly. "Why would you think that?" I shrugged, just wondering. He kissed my forehead like the conversation was over, like the question itself was unreasonable. But the seed had already taken root. A few days later, he mentioned a specific weekend, casually, like it had always been on the calendar. "Next weekend could work," he said. "We're both free. Already scheduled, already aligned with someone else's availability." I nodded slowly. "And after that?" "What do you mean?" "After the weekend," I said. "We just go back to normal?" "Exactly," he said. Too fast. "That's the whole point. Back to normal, as if nothing about this would change us." That night, I lay awake listening to his breathing, steady and unbothered, while my thoughts spiraled. Not with jealousy, with clarity. He wasn't bored with the relationship, he was bored with being accountable. I thought about the way he framed it, how we needed excitement, how we were stuck, how we should explore. But every detail centered on his freedom, his desire to be wanted, his fear of settling too early. There was no curiosity about my feelings beyond whether I'd get in the way. The next morning, I met my old friend for coffee. He listened quietly as I talked, really talked, the words spilling out now that I'd stopped protecting the image of my relationship. When I finished, he didn't rush to comfort me. He didn't villainize my boyfriend. He just said calmly, "You know this isn't about you being enough, right?" I nodded, but my throat tightened anyway. "He wants to feel chosen," my friend continued, "without choosing." That sentence stayed with me. By the time I got home, my boyfriend was buzzing with anticipation, already talking logistics, where he'd stay, how we'd give each other space, how mature we were for even considering this. I smiled, agreed, played my part. What he didn't know was that the conflict wasn't coming from temptation. It was coming from the moment I realized I'd been cast as a supporting character in my own relationship and decided I was done playing quiet. The final agreement happened over dinner, 2 nights before the weekend. He brought it up like he was confirming brunch plans. "So," he said, twirling his fork, "next weekend, we do our own thing, one weekend. No questions asked after." I watched his face, the anticipation he tried to disguise as calm, the way his knee bounced under the table. "Okay," I said evenly, "one weekend, no questions." His relief was immediate, almost euphoric. "Exactly," he said. "No jealousy, no drama. We're adults." Adults. The word felt hollow. That night, he was unusually affectionate. Extra hugs, lingering kisses, promises whispered like deposits for later. It didn't feel romantic. It felt transactional. I let it happen without comment. I had already decided what I was going to do. Friday morning arrived quietly. I packed a small bag while he showered. Clothes, toiletries, my passport. When he came out, towel slung low on his hips, he glanced at the suitcase and smiled. "That's thoughtful," he said, giving each other space. "Yeah," I replied. "Space." I told him I'd be staying at a friend's place for the weekend. He didn't ask where, didn't ask who. His attention had already drifted to his phone. "Have fun," he said, typing. "You too," I answered. I could see him messaging before I even reached my car, thumbs moving fast, grin sharp with expectation. He thought he was about to have the perfect weekend. Dates lined up with women he'd been chatting with, validation on tap, excitement without consequences, while I stayed somewhere quiet, waiting. My flight left at 2 in the afternoon. By the time I landed in Paris early Saturday morning, my phone was still on airplane mode, my mind oddly calm. The city was waking up, soft light, empty streets, the hum of something larger than both of us. My old friend met me at the airport. Easy smile, no expectations. We dropped our bags at the hotel, slept a few hours, then headed out. It was incredible. Cafes spilling onto sidewalks, the Eiffel Tower in the distance, the simple relief of being present instead of braced for disappointment. I barely checked my phone. When I finally did, Saturday morning Paris time, Friday night back home, I had 15 missed calls and more than 30 messages. The first voicemails were upbeat. "Hey babe, heading out to dinner. Wish me luck." Then mildly annoyed. "Okay, that woman looked nothing like her photos. On to the next one." Then sharper. "Why aren't you answering? I thought we agreed no drama." Saturday morning his time, the tone shifted again. "I'm bored. This was a stupid idea. Every woman I matched with either flaked or was weird. Can you come home?" Then suspicion crept in. "Why is your location off? Your friend says you're not there. Where are you?" That was the moment, the one that tipped everything. We were at a restaurant overlooking the river when my friend took a photo of me. The Eiffel Tower framed perfectly behind us. It was unposed, happy, innocent. He posted it and tagged me. I reposted it without thinking. Within 20 minutes, my phone exploded. "Paris? You're in Paris? Who is that man? You said you were staying at your friend's place." This is cheating. The irony was staggering. He had suggested the hall pass. He had been dating women all weekend, and now he was furious that I wasn't waiting quietly at home. I replied once, just once. "Having a great weekend. See you Sunday night, as planned. Enjoy your hall pass." Then I muted the conversation and turned my phone face down on the table. For the first time in weeks, I breathed without bracing. He wanted freedom without consequences. He never imagined I'd use it better than he did. Paris didn't end the relationship. It exposed the fracture that had been there all along. I didn't check my phone again until Sunday morning. Not because I was trying to punish him, but because for the first time in months, my nervous system wasn't braced for impact. Paris had a way of quieting the constant internal negotiation. What to say, how not to upset him, how to stay agreeable without disappearing. When I finally picked up my phone, there were 53 messages. The progression was almost clinical. Anger first. "I can't believe you did this to me." Then panic. "My friends are asking who that man is. Everyone thinks we broke up." Then anger again, sharpened into accusation. "You were supposed to be the loyal one. This was my weekend." That last message landed heavy. This was my weekend. Not ours, not mutual, his. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering, my heartbeat steady in a way that surprised me. Something had clicked into place. Not rage, not revenge. Recognition. The hall pass was never about exploration. It was about permission for him to stray while I stayed predictable. My friend watched me from across the cafe, his expression careful. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah, just done." He didn't press. He never did. That respect, the absence of expectation, felt louder than any grand gesture. "Should we post more photos?" he asked lightly, half joking. I laughed. "Why not?" So we did. A cafe near the Louvre, walking along the river, sunlight catching on water, on faces that weren't performing happiness. Each post sent my phone into another spiral. "Stop posting with him. This is humiliating me. My mom is asking questions." Then the threat, thin and hollow. "I'm calling the landlord to change the locks." I actually laughed at that one. It was my condo, my name on the lease, my locks. The plane ride home was quiet. I didn't respond to anything. I watched clouds drift past the window and felt something unfamiliar settle in, calm, edged with certainty. When I landed, there were 50 more messages waiting. I didn't read them at the airport bar where I sat for a few minutes, suitcase at my feet, heart finally steady. I wasn't dreading going home. I wasn't excited either. I was ready. I walked into the condo that night around 10. The living room looked like a storm had passed through. Pillows on the floor, dishes in the sink, tissues scattered across the coffee table. He was on the couch, laptop open, eyes red, crying or furious, I couldn't tell which. He jumped up the second he saw me. "Where the hell have you been?" "Paris," I said calmly. "I told you in my text." "You said you were staying at a friend's place." "I did," I replied. "His hotel room." His face flushed dark. "You stayed in the same room with him?" "It was a hall pass weekend," I said evenly. "No questions asked after. That was your rule." "That's not what I meant," he snapped. "And you know it." I set my bag down slowly. "Then what did you mean?" He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "I meant, like, go on a date, maybe kiss someone, not fly across the world with another man." I let the silence stretch. "You didn't set parameters," I said. "You said one weekend. No questions. I used mine how I wanted." I could see him scrambling, searching for an angle where I was the villain. "Everyone saw those photos," he said. "My friends, my mother, they think we broke up." "Did you tell them about the hall pass?" He hesitated. "No, it's private." "So, you're embarrassed about the thing you suggested?" "That's not fair." "What's not fair?" He followed me into the kitchen as I grabbed a glass of water, his voice rising. "Nothing even happened for me this weekend," he blurted. "Every woman I met either ghosted me or was a creep. I spent the whole weekend alone while you were living it up in Paris." And there it was. The truth, finally unguarded. He hadn't wanted freedom for both of us. He wanted success for himself and waiting from me. I took a sip of water, steady. "That's how hall passes work sometimes," I said. "Not my fault yours didn't go well." "This isn't fair," he repeated. "You weren't supposed to actually do anything," he added desperately. "You were supposed to realize you didn't want anyone else and come home." I laughed then, not cruelly, just honestly. "So it was a test." He didn't answer. That night, he cried and yelled in turns. I slept in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, the final pieces settling into place. The next morning, I woke to his voice in the living room, loud and rehearsed, talking to his best friend. "She's being so unreasonable," he said. "She went to Paris with some guy. Says they're just friends. I didn't even do anything." I made coffee, got dressed, walked past him without stopping. "We need to talk," he said quickly. "There's nothing left to talk about," I replied. "You wanted a hall pass weekend. We both took it. It's over." He stared at me, stunned. "No," he said, "it's not over." I looked at him then, really looked. "It was over the moment you asked to sleep with other women to feel alive," I said quietly. He just hadn't realized it yet. Monday didn't bring clarity. It brought noise. When I came home from work that evening, the tension was thicker than the air itself. He was pacing the living room, phone in hand, jaw tight like he'd been rehearsing lines all day. "Everyone thinks we broke up," he said the moment I walked in. "You need to post something. Say we're still together." I set my bag down slowly. "Why?" "Because people are asking questions," he snapped. "My friends, my family." "Let them ask." His face hardened. "This is selfish. You made me look like an idiot." I met his gaze. "You made yourself look like an idiot when you suggested sleeping with other women and assumed I'd sit quietly at home." He scoffed. "You didn't have to take it that far." "There were no limits," I said. "Your rule." He grabbed a couch pillow and hurled it across the room. It hit the wall and dropped to the floor. "I hate you right now," he said. "Noted." I went to bed early. He didn't follow. The next day, his mother entered the picture. I was at work when my phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. Her voice was tight, controlled, heavy with judgment. "I raised my son better than to be treated like this," she said. "You owe him an apology. Whatever misunderstanding happened, you need to fix it." I listened once, didn't respond immediately. When I got home, he was sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed, like he'd been waiting for me to come to my senses. "My mom called you," he said. "Yes," I replied. "Well?" I texted her in front of him. "Your son suggested we both take a hall pass weekend. I took mine. He's upset his didn't go as planned. That's the full story." I hit send and placed my phone face down. Silence. His mother never responded. That night, he tried a different strategy. Dinner was already cooking when I walked in. Pasta, candles, the works. He'd changed clothes, showered, smiled like nothing had cracked between us. "Let's just forget this ever happened," he said softly, reaching for my hand. "Start fresh." I pulled my hand back. "No." His smile faltered. "Why are you being like this?" "Like what?" "Cold." "Honest," I corrected. "You wanted a hall pass. You got one. Now you're angry because yours didn't work out and mine did." "So what?" he snapped. "We're just done?" I think we've been done since you suggested sleeping with other women to spice things up. He shook his head. I didn't even sleep with anyone. Not for lack of trying. The sound of the slap was sharp but brief. Not hard enough to hurt, just enough to send a message. I stared at him, my face calm, my chest steady. You need to find somewhere else to stay, I said. This is my home too, he shot back. It's my condo, I replied. My name on the lease. I'm asking you to leave. You can't just kick me out. I can, I said, and I am. He went from rage to panic in seconds, begging, promising, swearing he'd change, that it was a mistake, that he didn't mean it the way it came out. I didn't move. You have until Friday to pack your things, I said. He stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door, probably texting everyone he knew about what a monster I was. I sat on the couch, strangely calm. Later that night, my friend from Paris texted, "How's the fallout?" I typed back, "About as expected, ending things." "Good," he replied. "You deserve better than someone who plays games. Paris offer still stands if you need an escape." I smiled, not because I needed saving, but because for the first time I felt solid in my own decision. This weekend was supposed to break me in his favor. Instead, it showed me exactly who he was. Someone who wanted the benefits of commitment without the responsibility. Someone who thought I'd wait patiently while he explored. He made his choice when he suggested that hall pass. I just made mine somewhere with better views. Tuesday night was quiet in the worst way. Not peaceful, not resolved, just heavy, like the aftermath of something that had already broken, even if neither of us wanted to name it yet. He stayed in the bedroom. I stayed on the couch. The condo felt foreign, like a place that no longer belonged to either of us. Every sound, the air conditioning clicking on, the distant traffic, felt amplified. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. "I miss you. Can we talk?" I didn't need to ask who it was. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening, not from longing, but from exhaustion. He'd spent days insisting I was unreasonable, dramatic, cold. And now, when the noise died down, he reached out quietly, hoping persistence would wear me down. I typed back one word. "No." A few seconds passed. I made a mistake. I turned the phone face down and didn't reply. The dark moment didn't come with tears or pleading on his side. It came with deflection. The next morning, I walked into the living room and found him on the phone, voice low, controlled, but edged with frustration. "She's blowing this out of proportion," he said. "I didn't even sleep with anyone." He noticed me then and ended the call. "You're acting like I cheated," he continued immediately. "I didn't." I stood there listening. "You wanted to," I said calmly. "You just didn't like how it turned out." "That's not fair," he shot back. "I just wanted to feel wanted again." There it was again, the reframing, the attempt to turn intent into innocence. "You wanted validation from other women," I said, "and you assumed I'd wait quietly while you looked for it." He scoffed, running a hand through his hair. "So that's it? 3 years and you're done?" "Yes," I said, "because the relationship ended the moment you asked me to compete with strangers for your attention." He shook his head, irritated, not heartbroken, not devastated, just angry that the script hadn't gone his way. "You're overreacting." Maybe, or maybe this was what it looked like when a woman stopped negotiating her worth. Thursday night, he packed slowly, deliberately, opening drawers, closing them again, slamming one just hard enough to make a point. He waited for me to stop him. "I didn't. You'll regret this," he said finally, standing in the doorway. "Good luck finding someone who puts up with you." I didn't look up. "Good luck finding someone who agrees to hall passes," I replied. His jaw tightened. He walked away. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, not doubting myself, but grieving the version of the relationship I thought I had, accepting that love had turned into leverage somewhere along the way. This was the lowest point, not because I wanted him back, but because choosing myself meant letting the illusion die completely. No dramatic reconciliation was coming. No apology would fix what was broken. No version of this ended with compromise. Friday was coming, and with it, the moment everything shifted for good. Friday arrived without ceremony. No apology, no last-minute realization. Just consequences finally catching up. I came home from work to find boxes stacked near the door, 8 of them, unevenly taped, hastily packed. He stood in the living room with his arms crossed, jaw tight, irritation simmering beneath the surface. Not sadness, not remorse, annoyance. Like this wasn't a breakup, like this was an inconvenience. His mother arrived first. She didn't greet me. She just walked in, carrying herself with the authority of someone convinced she still had influence. Behind her came his best friend, a man I'd seen at birthdays and barbecues, now avoiding my eyes, clearly uncomfortable, but loyal by default. "So you're really doing this," his mother said, "throwing away 3 years over one mistake." I stayed calm, still. "His mistake," I said evenly, "was thinking I'd sit at home while he tried to sleep with other women." She scoffed. "He didn't even sleep with anyone." That wasn't for lack of trying. The room went quiet. His best friend finally spoke, rubbing the back of his neck. "Look," he said, "you're the one who went to Paris with another man during a hall pass weekend," he suggested. "I'm just saying, from the outside, it doesn't look great." I met his gaze. "He suggested the hall pass," I said. "He dated women all weekend. I followed the exact rule he set. If that doesn't look good, maybe the rule was the problem." He had no answer. That was the moment everything shifted, not because anyone apologized, but because the logic stopped working. There was nowhere left to redirect blame without sounding ridiculous. They packed quietly after that. No more lectures, no more pressure, just boxes sliding across the floor, drawers opening and closing. He tried to claim a side table, then a lamp, then a chair, muttering that he'd help pay for them. I didn't argue. I pulled out receipts. He stopped talking. By the time they were done, he stood in the doorway with nothing but what was actually his. His mother looked at me one last time, disappointment sharp but powerless. "You'll regret this," he said flatly. "Good luck finding someone who puts up with you." I didn't raise my voice. "Good luck finding someone who agrees to hall passes." He said nothing after that. The door closed. The condo went quiet. That afternoon, I changed the locks. $180. Worth every cent. The fallout didn't stop, it just moved beyond my walls. Over the next week, I heard about the Whisper campaign. According to his version, I was controlling. Manipulative. I'd tricked him with the Paris trip. Apparently, I was supposed to tell him in advance so he could, what? Approve it? The mental gymnastics were impressive. A few mutual friends reached out, cautious but curious. I told them the truth, every time. He suggested a hall pass weekend. I took mine. He got angry when his didn't go well. Most of them understood immediately. One laughed. "So he thought you were supposed to go to a bar or something, not actually enjoy it." "Funny," I said, "that rule never came up." I lost a few friends who sided with him. I didn't chase them. Week 2, his mother tried calling again. Left voicemails about forgiveness, about being the bigger person. I didn't respond. Then came the text, from a new number. "I miss you, can we talk?" I replied once. "No, please," he wrote. "I made a mistake." "Your mistake," I typed back, "was thinking you could have it both ways." I blocked the number. That was the turning point. Not loud, not dramatic, but final. The moment I felt the balance shift back into my hands. The hall pass weekend was supposed to tilt the relationship in his favor. Instead, it stripped away every illusion. And I finally saw the truth clearly. I hadn't lost anything worth keeping. Week 2 was when the real damage surfaced. Not inside my condo, that was quiet now, almost eerily so, but outside it, where narratives mutate faster than facts. I started hearing things through mutual friends first. Careful messages, awkward check-ins. "Hey, just wanted to see how you're doing." "So, I heard some stuff." Apparently, according to his version, I was controlling, manipulative, calculated. I'd tricked him by going to Paris. The implication was almost impressive in its audacity, that I had somehow violated an unspoken rule by actually using the hall pass he proposed. The logic went like this. Yes, he suggested sleeping with other women. Yes, he actively dated women all weekend. But I was only supposed to symbolically participate. Stay local, stay modest, stay small. I was never meant to leave the country. Never meant to enjoy myself. Never meant to look happy. A few friends reached out directly, wanting my side. I didn't embellish, I didn't defend myself emotionally. I just told the truth, clean and chronological. He suggested a hall pass weekend. I agreed. I went to Paris with an old friend. He went on dates with women. He got upset when his didn't go well. Most of them paused, then laughed, not at me, but at the absurdity. One friend said, "So, he wanted permission, not equality." Exactly. I lost a handful of friends who sided with him, people who believed that proposing a hall pass was fine, but actually taking one, successfully, was betrayal. I didn't chase them. Anyone who needed me to shrink to stay comfortable wasn't someone I wanted access to my life. His mother tried again. 3 voicemails spread over a week. Same message, different wording. She's devastated. She's learned her lesson. You should be the bigger person. I didn't return a single call. I had already been the bigger person. When I didn't end things the moment he suggested sleeping with other women. When I didn't explode. when I agreed instead of walking away immediately. I was done being asked to absorb consequences that weren't mine. Then came the text from another new number. I miss you. I stared at it longer than I wanted to admit, not because I missed him, but because it confirmed what I already knew. He didn't miss me. He missed stability, access, the version of me that smoothed things over so he didn't have to sit with discomfort. Can we talk, please? I replied once. No. I made a mistake, he wrote. I never wanted to be single. I wanted us. I felt my jaw tighten, not in anger, but in resolve. You wanted the freedom of being single with the security of a relationship, I typed. That's not us. That's you. He tried calling. I blocked the number. Again. The irony didn't stop there. A few days later, I saw posts from his circle about knowing your worth and not settling. Vague captions. Inspirational quotes. Passive aggression wrapped in self-help language. I didn't respond. Instead, I rearranged my condo, moved furniture, took down photos, changed my relationship status to single. His best friend commented under it, really mature. I replied once, just being honest. Have a great day. Then I blocked him too. Peace, it turns out, requires maintenance. By the end of the third week, the noise had faded. The story stopped being interesting when there was no reaction left to provoke. That's when I knew it was truly over, not because he accepted it, but because I no longer needed him to. The fallout landed where it belonged, and I was still standing. 3 weeks after Paris, the condo felt like mine again. Not just legally, emotionally. The air was quieter, the rooms felt lighter. I rearranged the furniture, bought a few new things, erased the physical reminders of a relationship that had been eroding long before it officially ended. I deleted our couple photos from social media without ceremony, changed my relationship status to single. Not to make a statement, just to reflect reality. Someone asked if I felt guilty for moving on so fast. I didn't. Because the truth was, the relationship didn't end when he packed his boxes. It ended the moment he suggested a hall pass, when commitment turned into a test, when loyalty became something to be negotiated instead of assumed. The Paris trip wasn't revenge, it wasn't strategy, it was choice. I chose to live instead of waiting, to participate fully instead of performing devotion, to step into the freedom he asked for without shrinking myself to protect his ego. My old friend and I kept in touch. Nothing dramatic, no rushed romance, just easy conversation, shared laughter, mutual respect. We planned another trip in a few months, somewhere new, not as a statement, just because we could. I realized something important in the quiet that followed. People who ask for hall passes aren't asking for freedom. They're asking for insurance. They want to explore without risk, to feel desired without being accountable, to keep someone steady at home while they test the world for something better. When that's the offer, the answer doesn't have to be anger. It can be clarity. He wanted the thrill of being single with the security of a relationship. He got the thrill. I got the peace. Some lessons come gently. Others arrive with plane tickets, locked doors, and blocked numbers. Natural consequences don't need to be loud. They just need to be allowed. Paris gave me more than memories. It gave me perspective. And that, more than any relationship I left behind, is something I'll never give back. Thank you to everyone who offered support or shared similar stories. If this resonated with you, feel free to comment, share, or subscribe. Sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is stop waiting to be chosen and choose herself instead.